Awesome. Well, you know what, Rod, I stumbled upon your manifesto on your website,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
the work that you're doing. And what really struck me is, dying for change. We're dying for change, and the urgency that you have, on your in this manifesto. Tell me, how did it come about?
Oh, okay. Well, when I was diagnosed in 2014, obviously that's a shock, and you're pretty much concentrating on getting treatment, as you know very well, for a
Absolutely.
cancer. But then I suddenly started to realize when I'm looking around websites that it's a sort of pretty pink disease, and how does it cater for men? And obviously I got to the conclusion that it wasn't catering very well for men, and I have to say, in the last 8 years, there's been a lot of changes, and that manifesto, which by the way was written by myself and the late Rob Fincher, who was stage 4 breast cancer patient from Wollongong. That manifesto has made a difference, and when I look at the list of quite a few points there, probably half of them we've made progress on, and things like degendering websites and adding a bit of blue for the pink, and um, sort of making it more inclusive, making the text more inclusive. So if a guy gets over there on the site and starting to hear stuff that doesn't really apply to blokes, I don't think that's good. And the stigma attached to this disease for a man. I mean, you could probably talk about stigma as well with your particular cancer, testicular cancer. But for a man to have breast cancer, it's seen, gee, what's wrong? Are you a bit effeminate, or what's the problem?
Absolutely, Rod. And I couldn't agree with you more that the stigma, these cancers, they go to the root of who we are as men. And I think that's the root of all cancers. They affect us, at such a deep level. It affects our body. It affects how we think about ourselves. It affects how we are around people. And I'm just inspired by the bold vision that you guys had around this manifesto, and to see that progress is being made around that. But let's get back to your story, because I'm really want to talk about that, and your story with breast cancer. I mean, because we all kind of have this moment when you kind of find out that you have cancer. So tell me, Rod, what was it like for you?
Okay, well, pretty surreal, but not unexpected. I had a lump behind my left nipple for a little while, and so I presented to the general practitioner, and we both agreed maybe it was nothing. So a month later, it was still not nothing. So I came back, and anyway, long story short, the third time I turned up, I said, I need a scan of some sort. And she said, okay. But none of those times did she do a clinical examination. And I just sort of wondered, if I'd presented with breast problems as a woman, I think I probably would have been seen a bit earlier. So it made the diagnosis a little bit of a later stage than I would have liked, but I had excellent treatment just locally up here, and I couldn't really complain about anything. And I have to say, as a guy, there's a lot of women out there as breast surgeons, as oncologists, as radiation oncologists, and we're lucky in a way. As a guy having this disease, we're lucky that we can just slip into a system that's really geared up maybe for women, but a lot of the treatments really are just as effective on guys.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Rod, and I love how you talk about that you were, even at those very early stages, you were the advocate for, let's get it checked out, let's get it looked at, right? Because sometimes you're gonna have to put your hand up and kind of look after be your own champion, right, if you will. And it's such a tough time, because as you said, there is stigma, and also it's like you described, there's radiation culture, the different specialists. It's kind of like almost you have to learn this new language, isn't it?
Yeah,
And so it's a challenging time on so many different levels, and it just throws everything up in the air. So with you going on your kind of journey through cancer, uh, was there a time when you kind of felt like you almost wanted to give up because this was just getting too hard?
Oh no, honestly, Joe, I didn't ever feel like I wanted to give up. I felt like I really wanted to take the treatment on offer, and as you know, it is quite invasive and it's quite lengthy. In my case, it was starting with surgery because the breast surgeon didn't want to. Sorry, it was starting with chemo because the breast surgeon didn't want to operate. The skin was inflamed, etc. So that chemo over a few months is quite tiring, but I read somewhere that you're meant to keep active and keep doing things, and that's what I did. I took on a building project, and whereas the first day I flopped into the lounge chair, after that I thought, no, bugger this, I'm just going to keep going, and I did, and I got through the chemo quite well. The surgery, of course, is a different matter. You're cut, and it was quite extensive, including lymph nodes under the arm, all lymph nodes removed, and there's a drain that you wear, and I thought that was perhaps the hardest part of the treatment, and after that was radiation, which is 33 treatments every day except the weekend, and bingo, you're sort of done, or they tip you out the door. That's when it gets a bit like, oh dear, I quite liked it in treatment because I felt quite secure. But I think you got to get over that, haven't you?
Yeah, well, absolutely, and I find it so fascinating that you bring this up, right? Because I guess when you find yourself in this new reality of cancer, you kind of think you're gonna go through this treatment and everything will be okay. But sometimes we feel perhaps even more lost when it's done, because all of a sudden you don't know, you're waiting for results, you don't know how things might turn out, you don't have that support. So tell me, what kept you going in that time? What supported you?
Oh, okay. Well, I had good support from my partner, and she was around when things needed to be done and changed. And obviously, that was a big thing. I've got three brothers, with their own families. They were supportive. Two kids, a daughter and a son, in their 40s. They were very supportive. So I never felt unsupported. And of course, with social media, the internet, particularly, there's some very good sites, and not just social media, actually. Breastcancer.org, which is a big site. Again, it's for mostly women, but I've stuck around there for all the time and helped other men. And as soon as I realized that I was going to be okay, I was pretty keen to get a bit trained up. One, as a telephone counsellor. Two, helping in the infusion room at the local hospital. And sort of at the time I was getting over treatment, if you like, I was also learning about learning some new skills. I have skills as a internet person, as a writer and a marketer. So I thought, we'll just switch over. And I was sort of ready for a change. I'd sold my business, and I was thinking, patient advocacy. And I sort of thought that evolved into patient activism, and I like that term as well. I mean, it's a next step, and I've never stopped all that time. I'm still going.
Yeah, I'm so inspired to hear that story that you volunteered, you out there helping people, and you decided to just kind of go into this world of advocacy and activism. So talk to me, Rod. What is the distinction between patient advocacy and patient activism?
Okay, patient advocacy, I think, is working to promote aspects of the disease, in my case, with the men who have it, and helping them go through the same things that I went through. So you get a bit of knowledge, and they say a bit of knowledge is not bad. Too much knowledge might might not be good, but you really do learn a lot. And a lot of the time, it's listening. Listening. What's the problem? It's not trying to put anything on anybody, and nobody that contacted me, and my number was out there to be contacted. And it's always the person that you're working with contacts you. So you're not chasing anybody. You're ready to terminate the conversation whenever you feel it's getting too tough for them. But so advocates, I guess, they sort of plod along and do the hard work. Activists, I think, have sort of gone a stage further, and like the manifesto, that's an activist thing. But I think also you're not afraid to take the debate up to the medical establishment, pharmacological people. You sort of, you reach a stage, and I think the advocacy might last for a couple of years and before the activism takes over. So I have to say that you don't feel comfortable until you really know your disease, you really know what you're dealing with, and you really know what's wrong with the way that it's being handled.
Exactly. So it's kind of sounds like it's almost challenging the status quo, right? Like there's this established view of the world, and you kind of painting a vision of what's possible, right?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Rod, and good on you for doing that, because that's really in my mind is that's the way of progress, right? You have to be able to challenge the existing view, and that comes from putting out bold vision of how things might be, and it comes from from real people going through this experience, who go, I like yourself, who go, and you know what, this we could do better, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
what
we
it's from.
could. I also think it's not a matter of going into battle with the medical profession. They're very busy people, none more so than the last couple of years, and you do really understand their point of view. You're sitting in an appointment, and they're listening to you, but they're sort of also thinking perhaps about the next patient, or about an operation they have to do. And I think by going to an appointment well researched and well versed in all the questions that you might want to ask. You really do have to ask questions, because these people you don't see very often. And I found that the really good doctors just loved it that someone was coming in and not keeping an eye on them, but actually, making sure that the treatment they were giving you was A, effective, or B, there was a reason for it. I had a great relationship with all my medical people, and I think that was because I was a bit curious and a bit out there, and I wasn't all that fragile. Pretty quickly became resilient, and I think it's resilience that gets you through all this. And if you've got that nature, or if you're lucky enough to be able to handle it all, then that's what you should do.
Absolutely. But to me, those two things are connected, Rod. Like being able to speak up and being more resilient is, sometimes we want to be able to bring out our concerns, to bring out our worries, to bring out questions, because when you're working with the medical specialist or a medical team, they don't really know you. They don't really know what's important for you and your way of life. So you gotta speak up for yourself. And I feel that when you do that, when you ask questions, when you talk to people who've been going through the same experience, when you kind of have an understanding of what is it you want, or at least what's important for you, all of a sudden you become more resilient, because all of a sudden this experience starts to feel like you're a little bit more in control, right? Like all of this stuff you feel sometimes it's kind of goes over your head a little bit, but when you start to ask questions, you kind of start to feel more in charge. Do you think so?
Yeah, I do think so. And you hit the nail on the head there, Joe, because as I said, I think medical people get it, where you're coming from. And I think it gives, they need to have respect for patients, and we need to have respect for the professions, but it's a two-way street. And I think It's amazing. There's so many good people out there. I just feel very, very comfortable talking with them, going through treatments, and learning that it's not all that serious. You can maybe have a laugh here and there, but it's also, I think, um, yeah, building up your resilience. So it's sort of like a cumulative thing. I feel like I could probably stop a bullet right now.
Yes, yes, the bulletproof rod. Um, absolutely. And you know what? You also seen not only obviously a great many medical specialists that you've interacted with both as a patient, but also as an advocate and as an activism. But you also have been interacting quite a lot with people who've been through cancer, with caregivers, and so you've seen people, obviously. Men who going through breast cancer, people going through different cancers, different situations, different walks of life, different stages, different phases. So when you look at the journey kind of when that we go through cancer, both from kind of diagnosis to potentially survivorship, hopefully, like what is it that you feel that we share on that journey? What stands out for you?
Oh, look, we share a lot, and I was lucky enough to be given an editor job for one of the male breast cancer charities. They'd send me the men's stories that they posted on their website, and I probably edited over 200 of these stories. And you know what? Every one of them is different, and for everyone that cruises through it, there's people that are struggling, and most discomforting of all, for every early stage patient, there's a couple of late stage patients, and getting diagnosed with a cancer at stage 4 right from the beginning, it's a terrible blow. It's a terrible blow to anybody, any gender, if you like. And it's from those people that I think I learned the most. They're quite amazing. Rob, who did the manifesto with me, was one of those people, and he had a great spirit and never stopped helping people. And I think, right at the end, we just sort of said to each other, and I saw him in hospital a couple of days before he died, the hashtag is fuck cancer.
Yes, exactly right. And now you're kind of carrying the torch as well in some way. It sounds like for your friend, like you were doing this together.
Yeah. Yeah. We carry the torch, and yeah, I mean, life goes on. It's how it is, isn't it? In many ways, we all have to face a lot of different problems too. And yeah, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely right. And you've gone through such an incredible journey with your advocacy and your activist work and the support that you're doing for folks with male breast cancer, the global alliance. I know that you're doing the male breast cancer live newsletter involved in that. You've got your own
Yeah.
fantastic website as well, which we're going to talk about as well. And you work with different groups as well, both here in Australia, but also across the world and in the United States as well. So what is it that kind of spurs you on? What is it that helps you, to keep going, to have that belief and inspiration to go along?
I think it's because I'm working with good people. I think you have to keep up. It's not like I think people in this space, and I'm sure you know a lot of them, are generally very well intentioned. There's no BS. Spades are called a spade, not an implement with which to dig a hole. And so that's an openness which I quite like. I really do like, and I don't need anything else. I don't really need anything else. As far as inspiration goes, I just get up and see what's on the computer every morning, no doubt, like you do.
Well, exactly, and it's such a beautiful thing, Rod, isn't it? That I'm so glad that you brought this up, because I think when sometimes you find yourself feeling, in this new world, after going through cancer and everything's changed, sometimes like, finding something that you can be passionate about, something that you can throw yourself into, is such a rewarding thing. And I'm so glad that you brought up the fact that it's you just meet great people who get it, and you kind of spend time interacting with them, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's called Cancerland, and we're all living in different rooms. But it's surprising, on Twitter, which I do quite a lot on. It's not just breast cancer. There's every cancer person there you can name, and they all, there's a similarity there, but they all have their different worries. And as I said, for the people going through treatment for an advanced stage, it's completely different, and the odds are so high. It's I sometimes look and I think we're very, very fortunate in the medical era that we're in. There's fantastic treatments. We're really fortunate. At the same time, especially the chemo drugs are heavy going. The side effects are huge, and I sometimes hear from people saying, "No, I can't take this anymore. I want quality of life over quantity of life." And I often think, oh, I wonder how I'd feel about that. I'm still waiting to find that out, because I'm still in the quantity section. So yeah, I think it's very difficult to for so many people, and not so much for me. That's why I'm still bouncing around helping.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and I'm glad that you brought up the fact that it is, for many of us, it's a struggle to not only deal with treatment, but to deal with side effects and after effects. And I guess sometimes we don't really think about that. That's part of life, and also feel that is also why it is important to get involved in something that you're passionate about, to kind of throw yourself into, whether that's advocacy, or whether that's activism, or whether it's something that's totally different, that kind of that just lights you up, that makes you excited about life and what you're living in whatever way that is for you. So I want to ask you, Rod, like, if you're someone who's been through cancer, or maybe perhaps living with cancer, and you feel like you want to do something, you want to make a difference in some way, but maybe you're not sure where to begin, or like what to do. So how do you think around that?
Okay, I think it's most important to really get across your topic. It's not a matter of going out there half baked. And never giving medical advice, because I'm not a doctor. I really just prefer to listen to people and to try and help them along, get through what they're having to cope with. And so I think there's just that feeling that if you're making someone feel better, I always think it's the sort of the little secret for these people that are patient advocates, is that it makes you feel better. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. And that's one of the best things. I mean, it's almost like when I don't know about you, but if I talk about something like that, like doing my podcast or my books or coaching, whatever, I feel like sometimes, that I feel almost guilty that I get so much out of it. But
Yeah.
it shouldn't be like this, right? It should
No,
be.
it shouldn't.
No, it shouldn't. It's if you're doing something that helps others, but if it also helps you, I mean, that's kind of the best of both worlds.
That's groovy. That's groovy. That's called win-win-win.
Yes, exactly, and that's what we're looking for in this brave new world. And I also think it's so important, Rod, to find your, like, a reason why, doing something is important for you, because we all have like our own reasons. We're all different individuals, and so our reasons might be different and distinct. And I think really connecting with what is important to you in your life right now, and like why is it, like who do you want to help, and why, whether that's advocating around the type of cancer that perhaps you've lived through, or maybe it's doing something in your community, or maybe it's renovating your kitchen, whatever that is, right? It's so vital to find something, that a reason why you believe it's something that you want to get behind, right?
I've got a personal reason, is that my mother died young from breast cancer, and I thought, as I'm going through post-treatment era, and I look back, and I think I see particularly a lot of younger women who I'm really keen to try and support as well. And I think back then, in my mum's day, that was 1962, there was no chemo. So patients that went to stage 4 just all died pretty quickly. And I think, as I said before about medical science, I think that's reassuring. And it's not a hopeless task that it used to be. So I feel motivated for that reason. But I think there's no other reason, I guess, apart from the fact that it sort of snowballs. You help somebody and then they hear about you and say you help them. You know, for instance, there's a guy in the United States who loves to have a Skype every few weeks, and you know, he's been through it. He's currently stage 4, but he's doing very well, and it's just become a personal friendship. And I think you make a lot of personal friendships. It's quite a strange situation. In fact, I've written an article on social media friends and what you do when a person dies that you've never met, and I think that's interesting sort of concept as well. Every so often, yeah, somebody just passes, and I've had a few of those recently, and I think that's something that you can't dwell on, but it's something that also keeps you going, and I think it's a real incentive to think that maybe with some people they haven't got a lot of time, and whatever you can do is going to be good.
Exactly right. And sometimes it also helps us to reconnect with our own experience. I feel that in some ways I don't want to close the door on the things that I've experienced, because now it's such a huge part of who I am today. It's for better or worse, it's made me a different person, and
Yeah.
and I'm quite happy being who I am today, as in I can't imagine myself being different from the person I was a few years ago.
How do you think it's changed you, Joe?
It's the biggest change, Rod, for me, is that it's made me feel so much more in the present. I feel I'm not spending a lot of time thinking about the future or worrying about the future. I don't spend too much time dwelling on the past. I'm so passionate about living today, enjoying the moment. Whether that's with my family, whether it's in my work. I think reconnecting with that being present in the moment is such a vital thing. I don't think it's some woo-woo new age thing. I think it's very real.
Yeah.
And it really helps me to get going. What about you, Rod? What is something that you feels changed probably the most for you?
Well, you certainly gain a lot of knowledge in a field you probably never would have gotten into. But I think if you've got certain skills, you can transfer them to this field. And quite often, there's a medical profession out there that really want to engage with patients. And I find them on Twitter, which I have like 2,500 followers. And one rainy day looked through, I just worked out, who are these people? I worked out that half of them are actually medical professionals. And that means that you can put the patient's perspective to a lot of people that you would never ever in your wildest dreams would have reached. And that's what makes it rewarding. I think it's not just the fact that you can go and parrot something, or you can write something, or you can edit something, or you can do a podcast. It's that you actually can engage, and I think that's what keeps you going, because you feel you're getting somewhere.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Rod. And so tell me about your experience on social media, on Twitter, of making an impact online. So how is that working out for you?
Okay, it's working out very well. I follow a couple of Facebook groups. As you know, I've got prostate cancer as well as breast cancer. So there's men in the prostate group, and there's not many men in the breast cancer groups. But I keep the breast cancer groups up to speed with what's how a man might feel. With the prostate cancer one, it's just guys chatting. And interestingly, on the prostate cancer Facebook pages, half of the people that are on it you are actually women, wives, partners, girlfriends, whatever. And whereas the breast cancer one, you might go a week before you see a man wander on there. And men, well, you probably agree with me that men aren't really great at presenting with the disease. They'll put it off, and I'm sure you know so many men that hadn't turned up for their examinations or been embarrassed, say in your case, to say I've got a problem in my testicle. And it's a bit the same with men and breasts. They don't think they've even got breasts, so a lot of the time they're just, yeah, as I said before, turning up late for a diagnosis.
Yeah, it's so true, Rod. And I have to say that I've mirrored that experience, yes, across, you know, on everything that I'm doing. That the if we're talking about testicular cancer and prostate cancer, it's so many the caregivers that kind of show up and that listening that I was totally didn't expect that. And it's interesting that you're seeing obviously totally
Yeah,
the
yeah,
opposite
good,
on the
good.
breast cancer side, and I also couldn't agree with you more around men and how we deal with cancer. I remember that the first time I was invited to speak at like a prostate cancer support group, and I think I was there for about just over an hour while so I was kind of speaking towards the end, and it was fascinating, Rod. I was sitting there, and and the guys talked about everything. They talked about the Christmas, they talked about
Yeah,
footy, they talked
body.
about this, they talked about that. I'm sitting there going, but did I walk into the right place? I mean, is anyone going to mention cancer?
Yeah, yeah,
And it was one of those surreal things where it's
yeah.
it's it's one of those things that are difficult to bring up, even though this was a safe space, even though that was a prostate cancer support group. Like you're not you're not at the supermarket.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how we work, right?
Yeah, well, maybe that sort of talk works for them, and maybe I don't. It'd be interesting. I'd love to hear you say how those meetings go. Do they eventually talk about testicular cancer or about what's worrying them or about treatments? I guess they do, but I guess they're trying to make small talk.
Well,
So
exactly. I mean, and sometimes I guess I guess I'm sometimes I always am the annoying person who I say stuff, and I bring it up. I don't know, maybe it's just the infuriating nature of my personality, but I feel it's really important to bring it up because I know that sometimes it's difficult to talk about, and sometimes it is painful to bring up these things because I remember like in that particular moment when I brought it up, like people started sharing some really difficult moments that they've had, the difficult times that they've experienced. But I really believe, Rod, that my personal belief is when we go through difficult times and we things that affect us, I believe that bringing those fears and those worries out into the open, I believe that that's when they lose their grip on you.
oh, okay, yeah. Well, that's um, how far are they prepared to go? This is the question because I think about this a lot. How much information are you getting? About men's problems. Let's talk about men and how um, how do you think you can help them when you maybe got limited information, or do you look for signs that they're struggling in any particular department? I don't know, say sexual function or something like that. I wonder how you handle that.
Yeah, I personally don't try to help because I'm certainly don't give any medical advice. But I do think it's important to share the stories with other people and bring out your stories. And I think first of all, it helps us to reconnect with our own experience. And then I think when it's very difficult, my belief, Rod, and I think it's true for not just men, but for all of us as people. I think it's very difficult to go out and seek support, whether that's support of medical specialists, whether that's support of a clinical psychologist, whether that's even talking to your partner or friend when we haven't been able to make sense of the situation yourself. If you haven't been able to get clear on like what's bothering you and how how it's affecting your life, we have to be able to make sense of ourselves first so that then we can go and seek that support. So I really look at that as a vital step to reconnecting with your own experience so that then it then opens you up to get help.
Yeah, that's really well put, Joe.
Thanks, Rod. I really appreciate that. So tell me, Rod, you strike me as such a person who's just living life to the fullest despite your intense experience with cancer on two different fronts and all the amazing work that you're doing. What is it that you feel grateful for in your life today?
I always feel grateful that your kids and their kids are okay, that your relatives and friends are okay. I think you sort of, it's a bit of a tightrope exercise, isn't it? And you know that some days something's not going to be okay, but I think you keep plodding along. I think personally, my kids think my life's boring. We live in the country here and we just, grow vegetables and, why aren't you doing more and all that? And I don't try and over explain what I'm doing to them, but I know it's okay, and they just have to trust me that what I'm doing is okay. And they're probably glad that they're not having to come up here and change my nappy or something.
Absolutely, Rod. And tell me, Rod, like if someone wanted to find out more about, male breast cancer, the work that you're doing on Twitter or on your website, what would they do if they wanted to find out more about your world?
Well, I think they'd obviously, go straight to the internet to research, see what Dr. Google says. And I think, people say to me, oh, don't tell people to go to the internet. Well, the internet's changed a lot, and any search term you put in for a medical condition these days has got really good results from top institutions, from groups that are very much have a good reputation. And I think there's a lot they can get from the internet. I would send them to my website, malebc.org, which is pretty simple URL, malebc.org. And there's a lot of information there. And it's information from medical specialists. It's not just chit chat. It's, there are so many aspects. I think, with all cancers, there's different things that worry different people, and so I try to sort of cover that there. But they need to I think they need to talk to other people with their disease, and social media is perfect for that. There are Facebook groups, which we talked about. I'm on Twitter, which is actually helping people, and a lot of medical information is posted there, the latest studies. You might have missed something. I mean, I get a lot of feeds on my email, but I like to keep up with what's happening there. People use Instagram, which is more visual. I'm not a great fan on that, but I think, find your niche, learn all about your disease, and just put your toe in the water. And normally the people that want to find out more and want to meet more people end up doing that. It's sort of self-selective.
Fantastic, Rod. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for what you do in the world.
No, well, thank you, Joe, and I'm really I'm proud to have been interviewed by you, because I can see you're claiming your space out there, and it just does rely on people like us to go out and um, help people know that there's others have been through the same thing, and it's really I love your work as well.
Thanks so much, Rod. You take care, and it's a pleasure to be speaking with you.
Okay, all right, we'll meet again somewhere.
Absolutely.